Meteorologists are at a loss to explain what is causing this weather and why it has taken flight to drive.
It is the agenda for the 21st century you're living in today. For a brave new world where everything that you cherished and held true will no longer exist.
I voted for Hillary. I think she has the best plans to go forward with our country. Trump, he has bold plans, but I think he's a loose cannon. I don't think I want him in the White House. It's such a long and tiring campaign, and it's tough. You know, I don't know. Hillary says she's going to... There's the divisiveness that's in the country right now, especially if Trump loses, and there's people saying that they're not going to accept the election and they're not going to accept Hillary.
As Donald Trump won state after key state, the mood at the Javits Center in New York, Hillary Clinton's HQ, was somber. Crowds had gathered expecting victory, but in the early hours of the morning, the outcome became clear and people were worried.
I'm very disappointed.
This was the last the public heard from Hillary Clinton as the keys to the White House disappeared from reach. Her devastated supporters waited for an appearance, but instead it was her campaign chairman who fronted up.
Well, folks, I know you've been here a while. Everybody should head home. We should get some sleep. We'll have more to say tomorrow.
Hillary Clinton opting out of her own Election Day party, as we've been telling you, leaving her supporters there in shock as she concedes to Donald Trump by picking up the phone and calling him.
This is a historic night.
I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us. It's about us.
Dana, you wanted to be precise, so go ahead.
That's right. CNN can report that Hillary Clinton has called Donald Trump to concede the race. She has called Donald Trump to say that she will not be president, and I'm not sure the exact words, but probably to congratulate President-elect Donald Trump.
Vindication. It means everything's different now. It means the world to me. It feels like I'm celebrating a birthday.
And I think a lot of people, particularly here in New York, particularly in Washington, did not really understand the rest of the country.
Was not expecting that at all. I was pretty undecided until I got into the ballot. I mean, it's a big deal. A lot of change is coming.
It's a great day. I mean, it really is. It's a great day. We knew this day was going to come.
How will this night go down in history?
I'm going to cry. I'm a grown man. I'm going to cry.
This is not the outcome we wanted or we worked so hard for, and I'm sorry that we did not win this election for the values we share and the vision we hold for our country.
Carl, what are your thoughts this morning?
This is tragic and dangerous. That what is going to happen in this country if Donald Trump follows through on what he said and the tenor of what he said and did in this campaign, there is an underlying racism that we can't get away from that is a big part of this story. And also questions about can a woman be president of the United States right now? But the underlying racism, that was the theme, the idea of nativism, the idea of walling ourselves off in this country. This is now going to become policy in some ways.
People have talked about a miracle. I'm hearing about a nightmare. It's hard to be a parent tonight for a lot of us. You tell your kids, don't be a bully. You tell your kids, don't be a bigot. You tell your kids, do your homework and be prepared. And then you have this outcome, and you have people putting children to bed tonight, and they're afraid of breakfast. They're afraid of, how do I explain this to my children? I have Muslim friends who are texting me tonight saying, should I leave the country? I have families of immigrants that are terrified tonight. This was many things This was a rebellion against the elites. True, it was a complete reinvention of politics and polls, it's true. But it was also something else. We've talked about race. I mean, we've talked about everything but race tonight. We've talked about income, we've talked about class, we've talked about region. We haven't talked about race. This was a white lash. This was a white lash against a changing country. It was a white lash against a black president in part. And that's the part where the pain comes.
Put it out there because no matter how you cut this, this is a huge step forward. Now, everybody who gave the talk about Donald Trump wanting to come together around Hillary Clinton and make it work are now going to have to swallow those words and come to Donald Trump and make it work.
Donald Trump did not run to unify the country. No. That was the last thing that he did. The country did not vote to be unified. I mean, I don't mean to be, this was not like a unity and all Americans coming together to be one common people with a vision. This was, there are some people, you know, that are going to do some, you know, this and the other people. It's very clear what we voted for. He did not mince words, and I cannot emphasize that enough. He was not a unity candidate. It wasn't what he ran on. He didn't run on a typical Republican agenda.
What is your expectations of governing then?
That we're going to, Obamacare is done. Dodd-Frank is done. Trade agreements are done.
But he said that, so
yeah, I know.
that's what the people want.
We are paying attention to the final results of the U.S. presidential election. China hopes to work with the new U.S. government to promote the bilateral relationship in a continuous, healthy, and stable way, and improve the well-being of the people of both countries and the world as a whole.
Malalaman yan. At saka may mga armas talaga yan. Ngayon, dito tayo. Ayaw ko nga, sabi ko, makipag-away kasi nandyan na si Trump. But I would like to congratulate President Trump. Mabuhay ka. At pareho tayo, nagmumura. Konting rason lang, mura ka agad. Medyo pareho kami. Kaya lang sabi niyo.
Поздравить американский народ с завершением избирательного цикла.
And I'd like to congratulate the American people with the end of the electoral cycle.
Господина Дональда Трампа с победой на этих выборах.
And I'd also like to congratulate Mr. Donald Trump with his victory in these elections.
Мы слышали предвыборные заявления еще кандидата в президенты Соединенных Штатов.
We have heard his electoral slogans when he was still a candidate of the presidency,
которые были направлены на восстановление отношений между Россией и Соединенными Штатами.
And he spoke about resuming and restoring relations between Russia and the United States.
Мы понимаем и отдаем себе отчет в том, что это будет непростой путь с учетом той деградации, в которой, к сожалению, находятся отношения между США и Россией.
We understand that the way to that would be difficult, taking into account the current state of degradation of relations between the US and Russia.
И это, как я уже многократно говорил, не наша вина, что российско-американские отношения находятся именно в таком состоянии.
And as I have repeatedly said, that is not our fault that the Russian-American relations are in that poor state.
Но Россия готова и хочет восстановления полноформатных отношений с Соединенными Штатами.
But Russia is ready and wants to restore the full-fledged relations with the United States.
And as we've mentioned, Russian President Vladimir Putin, the first world leader to congratulate Trump. Let's get more on that from Rory Challens. He's live for us from Moscow. Not a huge surprise then, I guess, that Putin is the first international leader to come out and say congratulations and give him a pat on the back. Does that basically sum up the official Russian position now?
I think the official Russian position is essentially that the Kremlin is going to be able to do business with the next president of the United States, that he hopes, Vladimir Putin does, that the dialogue between Russia and the United States will be better.
I don't think Trump is reliable. I've got a feeling that there is going to be chaos in the U.S.
on markets worldwide. Asian stock markets have nosedived following Republican Donald Trump's shocking victory in the U.S. presidential election.
European shares were down on opening in the wake of the shock U.S. election result, but then rallies.
The shock of the Brexit vote had made markets cautious, but clearly not cautious enough. As the prospect of a President Trump emerged, there was a bloodbath, starting in Asia. The US dollar sank and stocks plummeted. Sovereign bonds, gold and the Japanese yen all surged.
Japan will struggle with foreign exchange and yen selling intervention. And also, considering his views on Mexico and other neighbouring countries, he has shown a dislike towards immigrants.
Republican Donald Trump's election victory stunned investors on Wall Street, which was betting on a Hillary Clinton win. But the U.S. markets took it in stride in morning trading. Jonathan Corpina, senior managing partner at Meridian Equity Partners, says that mood reflects uncertainty.
I am quite surprised. I mean, we've been watching the polls very closely. We've been watching this whole process play out in front of us. All indications, whether they were polls or market reaction, was showing us that the market and the voters were accepting a Clinton election. So
Get back to our breaking news. About 1,000 anti-Trump protesters, mostly students, marching through the night.
Yeah, their march blocked off streets and neighborhoods all around UCSD as they chanted slurs aimed at Donald Trump. In fact, one of the protesters hit by a car.
Fox News is reporting that Canada's immigration website has crashed. And that's, I'm getting that from Carl Bildt, who used to be Prime Minister of Sweden, so I'm taking it quite seriously.
Following some breaking news right now in California, where protesters are reacting to the election by taking to the streets and starting fires. Hundreds of protesters turned out around San Francisco. In San Diego, marchers chanted and blocked freeways. A car hit one protester on a highway. We're still waiting right now to find out the extent of that person's injuries. Protests also erupted at the University of California in Santa Cruz, Los Angeles, Irvine, and San Diego.
With Donald Trump set to be the next president, California may try to go it alone. Cal-exit, Califrexit, no matter what you call it. Many across California want the state to secede from the union. But this reaction to election results isn't really new. In fact, last election, the Obama administration received secession petitions from all 50 states. 6 states even got enough signatures to merit responses from the White House. Texas's petition received over 100,000 signatures. But one reason these states didn't secede, and why California's chances probably aren't that great either, is leaving the union isn't just a state's decision to make. If California voted to leave through a ballot measure, it'd still have to go through one of 2 difficult processes. Either the federal constitution would have to be amended, which would require 2/3 of the House and Senate's approval and just over 3/4 of the states. California could also call a state's convention, with at least 38 state legislatures and 2/3 of delegates giving the okay to secede.
20 civilians have been killed in a US-led coalition airstrike in the village of Al-Haisha, which is 40 kilometers north of Raqqa. That's according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Well, according to the UK-based monitor group, casualties include 9 women and 2 children.
Iraqi investigators are examining a mass grave. It was discovered as the army pushed closer to Mosul. The remains of dozens of people have been found so far.
2 years ago, Hammam al-Alil was a renowned thermal water resort. Now it's the site of a mass grave. Iraqi security troops found the remains of some 150 bodies, all decapitated, they say. The victims reportedly marched here and killed.
Russia's aircraft carrier, the Admiral Kuznetsov, is reportedly preparing for an attack against terrorist targets in the Aleppo province in Syria.
Intelligence sources investigating the Paris and Brussels terrorist attacks believe they've identified Abu Ahmad, suspected of organizing the 2 operations. They now say he's Oussama Ahmed Attar, known for years by the Belgian authorities and a distant cousin of 2 of the Brussels bombers who blew themselves up at Zaventem Airport and Malbec Station in March.
Day 3 of a key meeting on climate change will get underway in just a few hours. Dozens of leaders are in Morocco for the 22nd Conference of the Parties, or COP22. The goal, implementing the final steps in the landmark Paris Agreement on climate change. One key focus on Tuesday, aiming to restore the world's forests. It's estimated deforestation accounts for 12% of carbon emissions every year. The conference will continue through next Friday.
Now to some weather news. Heavy snow has blanketed northeast China, causing traffic jams and car accidents. In northeast Jilin province, icy roads have been blamed for multiple car collisions. Traffic police made this video to warn against reckless driving. And it's a world of white in the city of Mudanjiang in Heilongjiang province. Over 100 snowplows have been busy clearing roads. Long-distance buses have been banned on highways in the provincial capital Harbin. Consistently low temperatures have prompted heating companies to provide indoor heating early this year at kindergartens and schools.
Smoke can be seen and smelled across the state from wildfires ripping through much of eastern Kentucky. We spoke with Dr. Elizabeth Metzer today, who tells us many of her patients are growing more and more concerned about smoke in the air, especially those already suffering from allergies.
We do stand on the edge of a great new era.
We built this great industrial powerhouse.
The whole idea of industrial capitalism in the West, government that was going to invest in infrastructure.
It is a time for pathfinders and pioneers.
What happened to the American century?
The share of income that we put into infrastructure has gone down starkly.
If you travel around the country, there's just not that much that's new.
What happened to America's ideal of progress?
All these things that had been established after the Great Depression fell apart.
You'll see that whole streets are just closing down.
A community that's undereducated, underemployed.
Baltimore was a blue-collar town. Now the air quality is wonderful because there's no industry here anymore. It's beyond light.
Detroit had a population of about 2 million people in 1950. It's now a little over 600,000.
A huge percentage of the budget goes to the military. This is an economy that's based to a large degree on killing people.
If you were to cut the military budget in half, we'd have a depression in the United States.
So they're literally working full-time and making poverty wages.
You have 1,600 vacant houses. It's insane.
They said, let's save a few dollars and pump the water in from the Flint River.
Decades and decades of being ignored.
Americans are finding themselves in a desperate situation.
It's a new state. A lot of talented people here, but you will never know because of the reputation we got.
If you're an entrepreneur right now in America, the last thing you want to do is take risk. This is not a world I want to take risk in.
America is not the pillar of democracy and freedom that it was once seen to be.
Here we are, naked in front of the world. It's a real tragedy.